10:05 a.m. and thank you for your attendance. We don't have any minutes, I don't think, for this one.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Oh, good morning, Mark.
Morning, Councillor Edwards. Righto. And where are they? Did we get them, sir?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Righto. Well, I might have to check that, so we mightn't do the minutes. We might do that when we come back.
Cool.
I don't know what time I got there, but
We
anyway.
can just go on to the
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll come back to the minutes. We'll go to 8.1, advocating for passing lanes, Roma to Miles. Do we?
Through the chair, are we adjourning this?
Adjourning it.
No, well, we will at 9:15, but we may as
Oh,
well
right, okay.
keep going till then.
Certainly, thank you.
Well, so we're starting on which one?
8.1, and we'll come back to. Do we have a mover for 8.1, advocating for passing lanes, Roma to Miles? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that Councillor Wright to the Honourable Mark Bailey MP, Queensland Minister for Transport and Main Roads, advocating on behalf of the residents of Jackson that the department investigate the construction of more passing lanes on the Warrego Highway between Miles and Roma.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Taylor.
I'd just like to say we had our catch-up in Jackson the other day, and they're a little bit concerned on the fact that there's so much traffic with the trucks on the highway, and there's just no passing lanes between Roma really and Miles. So would it hurt to ask, really?
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll speak. Yeah, I think this is a great idea, and every time get an opportunity, I know we've advocated in the past, and I think they've done the planning even for another safety initiative, which is slightly different to this, but it's actually turning lanes to Jackson. So anything we do with passing lanes would be good. The highway is very busy. Some of the actual discussions is that people don't notice people turning off, and that's why they need turning lanes. So passing lanes will be a really important thing, and there's more closer in on the Warrego, so I definitely will be supporting this motion. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
As the seconder, I just would ask the mover to consider just including in there and a copy be CC.
Morning, everyone. Good morning.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I can't
Okay,
hear
we
you,
might
so-
just pause for a minute. Looks like we've got some audio problems.
Yep.
Okay, so Councillor Edwards, we're up to 8.1, advocating for passing lanes, Roma to Miles. We've had multiple councillors speak, and now I think the seconder has asked for a copy to be sent to.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So just as the seconder, I just wonder if the mover would be happy to include a CC copy going to our local state member, Ian Lay, as well.
Good idea, thank you. Yep. Happy with that.
Okay, mover and a seconder agree with that, so that is the motion. Does anyone else wish to speak for the motion?
I do want to speak.
Please go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'm very happy to support this. This was raised by a number of local residents, particularly around the Jackson area, but the addition of passing lanes from Miles to Roma would benefit not just our area, but anyone that traverses the Warrego Highway. We all know how busy this particular stretch of road has got, particularly since COVID. Tourism has never been greater for our region and further west. So any advocacy that we can provide to the state government to invest in further infrastructure, I think would be a benefit for our community, and we should wholeheartedly support it.
Does any other councillors wish to speak for the motion? Okay, then does the mover wish to sum up?
No, all good, thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, item 10.1, LGAQ AGM Voting 2022, Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I move that Council 1 receive and note the report, 2 delegate to the Mayor and or Chief Executive Officer the authority to replace the subject appointed delegates with another delegate who meets the eligibility criteria in Rule 4.113 of the LGAQ Constitution, namely being another councillor should our council's appointed delegate change or due to unforeseen circumstances be unable to attend the annual general meeting or other relevant sessions at the conference.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock.
I just have a question, Mr Mayor.
Oh, please go ahead.
If you want to take second first. I just want to, just through you to Madam CEO, just some background, because we haven't done this previously, which I've got no problem with. Is it something that LGAQ is requesting of us?
Through the chair, what LGAQ do is write to us around their AGM and basically say, look, councillors may wish to consider moving a motion that gives you the flexibility just in case you have an issue with attendance in relation to the delegates, because your delegates are fixed once we name them, which we had to meet a deadline of the 5th of October. It's fixed, and obviously, as you'd realise, it's Councillor Guthrie and Councillor McMullen, but in the event something was unforeseen or they were unable to attend, they actually couldn't vote at the AGM because they wouldn't be recognised as council's voting delegates.
Yeah,
So it just gives it that flexibility should something unforeseen happen.
Okay, so Councillor Guthrie, are you happy to second that?
I am happy to say.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak?
I've got a question.
Please go ahead.
Through the chair. So just so I'm clear, this is just an administrative task that we haven't done, certainly since I've been on council, but they've obviously asked us to consider having a backup in place of the 2 delegates.
Yes, certainly. The advice has come from LGAQ just around their AGM, and I don't have the background about whether they've done that before. We may have always received the advice and just felt that that wouldn't happen, but it's just certainly the LGAQ are saying, well, it is an AGM. You do have fixed delegates, therefore councils may wish to build in the flexibility of what you would do if you couldn't get those delegates to the AGM. So if this is the first time they've done that, then yes, it's the first time they've done that.
Councillor Taylor?
So do we have to name the delegate?
No, through the chair, what it is just gives the ability for
so you can
the
just
Mayor and CEO at the last minute to actually say, okay, can we pick another councillor and supply that information into the AGM and still meet their constitutional clauses.
Okay, does the move wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr
Anybody want to speak to it?
I've just got another question.
Please go ahead.
Just for clarity, Councillor McMullen and Councillor Guthrie, you're still intending on going and you're registered and you're booked and ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Okay.
We've got to go Saturday to be there. We're going to be there a couple of days early.
Yep.
Okay, so on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting. Item 11.1, monthly financial report as at 31st of August 2022. Do we have a mover? I'll move that council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of August 2022. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Do anyone wish to talk? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Yes.
Thank you, 9-0. Okay, moving on.
At page 20.
Item 13.1, request approval for advertisement
I think it's page 20. Sorry.
20. Thank you. Oh, 12.1, request for an extension of regional domestic water zone to include lot 53 on DL 289. I would like to move that council approve the request to expand the regional water supply zone or allow the supply, Councillor McMullen, what is that device that?
Yeah, I was going to do it myself. It's called it's in another email I got here somewhere, a Marek valve. Marek
valve.
I'll get
Okay, approve the request, so it probably should go a different way. One, approve the request for the connection of water using a Marek valve to control the amount of water that is delivered per hour. And to advise the applicant of the decision, because it may be that we don't need to expand the regional water supply zone.
We will.
Because what's the difference between when we do it down at Wallumbilla and that?
We have to approve it to go outside the zone.
But we have different rules about it.
No. Oh, different.
Like, because what they're saying in here is that we haven't got enough pressure to, to allow that all the time.
But if it's, Mr Mayor, if he's just trickle feeding into a tank and got his own pressure pumps, it's not an issue.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just trying to find, if I can find the words in a hurry.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Why does the team leader not support this request?
Just through the chair, the response that I had was that the reasons for recommending council decline the request are documented in the report. We're already struggling to meet demand with existing customers and should not be expanding the network. The cost for him to extend the network is approximately $10,000.
How much?
10,000.
They're paying that, aren't
Yeah, who pays for that was going to be my question in relation to your motion.
Have to be the same as David Chief did in Roma. The precedent's been set.
And who paid for it?
I think he was willing to pay, and I'm pretty sure Mr Caden's willing to pay a fair bit for this too.
I think we've been careful what name we use because we had the wrong name there, I think.
So
It's an open report, though.
I know, we're talking about the last one.
Well, it was open, I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't it Gary?
What did I say?
David.
I said, did I say a name?
You didn't, you said Mr. Yeah.
Mr David Chief, he said.
Right.
Mr Chief, I thought I said.
It doesn't matter. We're talking.
okay, so we'll keep going. I'm going to move that.
So does the cost not come into it?
Through the chair, it's normally that the applicant would pick up the cost of the extension if we approve it.
Yes.
Is that standard, or would that have to be in the report, in the recommendation?
Look, you've got the recommendation, as it stands, just said decline this request, so it's not, it hasn't articulated that. I asked that question of the manager at the time saying, so, you're saying no, but under what terms would you say yes? And he said, well, the cost would be this. And most of the issues are around just around water pressure and supply, especially in summer.
Yeah, well, I'm happy this is a starting point, and then if there's something else needs to come back to council, because once we increase the regional water supply zone, we might have to do that forever, whereas this is connecting water. Councillor Guthrie, then Burkett.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I would just like to have confirmation that in the report it says the bore is currently not able to meet demand and in summer often fails to provide adequate flow and pressure to the existing township. My question is, will this Marek valve, will it then prevent those residents in Mangalala having a problem with flow and pressure?
Maybe if there's a fire or something.
No. The Marek valve is supplied. Everyone in Hodgson's got one. I we're not talking about Hodgson, but everyone's got one. The Marek valve in this case would be a requirement of that new user, so that he would only get.
I understand that, but I'm just trying to make sure that the people in Mangalala, because of the decision we make, do not find that they have even less flow and less pressure.
Well, we're putting a new bore down. Surely it's going to be rectified.
Yep.
Are we putting a new board down?
Yeah,
Mr Mayor, can I might be able to answer some of these
Burkett,
questions.
and then Hancock.
Well, I've got a bit of a history with this place. Not only the precedent's been set down here, but in Mangalala, and I'm pretty sure, when were the bridges done, those wide, and Jeff, going to...
A long time ago.
Yeah, but after amalgamation, I'm pretty sure. I put
No. We did them when I was,
Anyway.
Bringashy was still doing road
Oh,
works.
we put a service across out of this zone, on the western side, the Mungalala Creek. Council paid for that service across there. No different to this, probably more work because I had to join across the bridge. When they did the new bridge, they put another new line and disposed of that one. So more cost there. It was all by council. If what worries me is that they've got here, no additional consumers should be allowed if this can be avoided. So we're more or less saying you can't move to Mungalala and build a house. So to me, they're not pushing for livability or promoting. All it is the distance which he's willing to pay for. If he's got a 3/4 line that's got to go across the road and he's willing to pay from there on or whatever, and if he's trickle feeding into a tank which he's got his pressure pump, I cannot see the issue. He's paying for his water. It's not going to affect the firefighting. I just
Tank and that's got to be in the resolution though.
Well, if this whatever, so he's only getting a certain amount of water per day. But he's not going to be irrigating or anything like that. He wants to build a house. He wants to move there. He's owned this block for a lot of years.
And the Marek valve reduces the amount of water so only a certain amount. So council staff can come back and say this Marek valve would be able to handle this because...
What I'm saying is if he puts a house in and then he's going to say, I haven't got enough pressure. So if you make him put in a tank...
No.
Well, that's up to...
He make him put in a tank with a pressure thing, he's going to... That tank on the valve... He'll always have a tank full of water.
Yeah, but only just trickling in so much per day.
Yeah, that's right, but it'll fill.
I can't find it. I got it sent to me the other day, but Hodgson is an example. You've got houses on it, and it doesn't matter what happens, the maximum you get is 4,800 gallons per day. So I was trying to find, I think it's 0.2, I was going to put in the resolution, 0.25, I believe it's in the second one.
Councillor Hancock?
But they'd have tanks, wouldn't they?
You've got to have tanks.
Yeah, that's
it's
what I meant.
compulsory, yeah.
Councillor Hancock?
Yep, so I have the same concern as Councillor Guthrie. I am a bit concerned about it says as one of our risks that the expansion of the water supply will place a burden on the system. I'm not an expert in this field, but I do appreciate that Councillor Burkett is. But I don't know what a Maverick valve is. I don't know what it does.
To restrict you.
Yeah, okay. But I'm just wondering whether we could, could we lay this on the table to actually get someone from Water, Sewerage and Gas to come and at least listens, and at least we can put these questions to them to say, is that working? Can you explain more to me about that? I think it's a really big decision to put on our shoulders to do this when we don't actually, it's the first time I've heard of a Marek valve pump. And I'm interested, and I take on board, Councillor Burkett, what she said about the precedent's been set, we've done this in Roma, but that was one of the questions that I actually asked on that day was, would it affect the supply? And I was told no. So whereas the officer in this report is saying yes. So as a council officer, I don't feel comfortable that I've got all the information to make this decision today.
Burkett?
No, Councillor O'Neill's before me.
Councillor O'Neill?
It was. Given what Councillor Hancock has highlighted, if I'm reading the room, there seems to be an appetite to learn more to maybe approve rather than what was recommended. And we've just previously put something towards a future meeting, which might happen next Wednesday. Could that the information that we're seeking through you, Mayor, to the CEO, could that is that enough time if we were to revisit this on Wednesday next week to get that detail back? Is that enough time?
Look, through the chair, you've got your report. I think there's enough information in the report. I know that the manager's currently on leave, and I can certainly check that he'll be back by next week. My understanding was school holidays, so I think so. And what we're asking is quite a simple question: is could a scheme like Hodgson be implemented in Mungalala to support growth?
We have a report with a recommendation to decline.
Yes.
And so the report is centred around a recommendation of declining. you've got the mayor has moved a recommendation to approve,
accept.
which has led to a flurry of questions,
Yes.
which indicates there's an appetite. If it was to lay on the table, is that ample time to come back next Wednesday with the information the councillors are seeking?
Look, through the chair, and sorry to be a bit ambiguous here, but look, I would be saying is yes, we could provide a response to you on what basis could we approve a water supply. You know, whether that's going to be a fully comprehensive report would be subject to the officer's recommendation. But clearly, we've got an example of somewhere in our region that already uses mitigation controls so that they can grow their town.
I just found that thing and I sent it to all the council. My recommendation was going to follow the Hodgson.
Waiting.
Can I, this just to add a bit of common sense. So their way of thinking, I'll take on board that.
Yep.
Say there's a house, there's a block in town, the water's been turned off. It's always been connected, water's been turned on. They decide to turn that back on. Going on their risk assessment, we'd have to say no. Regardless of where it is, their concern is that tap getting turned on is going to take away the pressure. Also, if this green area is just the water zone, they're not included in the old railway. There's 2 or 3 houses on the other side of the railway line, further out of town, on the same size blocks, or one probably is, that get council water already. One across the highway, that would have been an exorbitant cost to get done. So not only has it been set somewhere else, there's 2 or 3 instances there, and I go back to all the spare blocks in Mangala, some probably have got water on. If I decide to go and build a house on that block, under this current rules by our manager, I wouldn't be allowed to turn my tap on.
And the thing is that this motion is completely different to what they've declined it, because they're giving full pressure, whereas this Marek valve only gives you a certain amount which controls the flow.
But also...
Why didn't he think of that then?
Well,
also,
no comment. But
also that they can check it. They read the water meters twice a year. We've had to go and police, when I was on council, people breaking water restrictions at a lot of cost, taking photos and checking, things like that. There's nothing for them to go and do weekly or monthly water meeting readings where they're in town to see if they're abusing the situation. So...
Look, through the chair, the officer's opinion is that no additional consumers should be allowed on the network. So they're saying, you know, town's as big as it can be. You can't have anybody else. So again, look, we certainly can ask the officer to say on what basis and what interventions could be put in place so that you could grow the town and approve this request, and would a Marek valve system work as such, you know, in the same way that it does in Hodgson.
And one further question, if you could ask the officers or get an time frame, when will the new bore be erected? Because if you're saying it's due for another 2 or 3 weeks, well, it's almost a done deal. If you're saying it's going to be 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, that'll help me make my decision. I can't speak on behalf of others, but if I get a time frame of the estimated date of sinking the bore or replacing the bore, it would help.
Certainly.
But you realise, councillors, that if someone turns on more taps out there, it's no different than connecting this person.
No, that's what we're saying.
So this, like, the officers are always overly cautious, but this is a Marek valve, and you all have, in this term, have approved connections in Wallumbilla with Marek valves. So you all know about it unless you've forgotten. And that's a standard way where you can control. You don't have to have full pressure. You know, like in Roma, they have full pressure. You've got to have water there. This is saying everyone, and Councillor McMullen said Hodgson's got it. You just have a certain amount of water. So Councillor Ladbroke, you don't have to say you've got to put a tank in. They have to. Like, all you're saying is you're only getting this amount of water per hour out of the system. And basically it just stops you ever running out of water, because you calculate what the Marek valve will let you have, and it's in your own interest to put a tank in. You don't have to tell people to put a tank in, they do it themselves.
How long was that bore to go in? Or we don't know.
But the thing is, and I think I can hear the frustration from Councillor Burkett as a plumber, that it's not realistic, because they've got all those people using water. They might all decide to turn it on at the same time. And it's no different than giving a approval for a restricted flow, which is completely different to the recommendation where they were talking about full pressure supply, which they had to make sure. This is almost like we're doing something for it. Councillor Hancock?
Mr Mayor, I really want to support this, but I just really need some more information. So I'd like to move that we lay this on the table to a future meeting of council to get more information about the Marek valve and the system and how that can assist this person, this application, and also the Mangalala community, and also to be supplied that information about can there not be one more tap. Like, I think we need the officer to be able to speak to this report to fully understand the risks at the moment at Mangalala, if there isn't any. But according to this, there is, and I think before I make this decision, I need to fully understand what those risks are to that community. So I'd just like to move that we lay it on the table.
And I'd like to add to that, get a breakdown of that $10,000 cost.
You do realise that the wants to connect cattle to this, so we're putting it off is a thing. So we'll go to the vote on
Use a lot more. He's going to use cattle.
Table. All those in favour of laying it on the table?
Get it done.
All those against laying it on the table?
Against.
Lost 4-5. So do we have a second for this motion? Councillor Ladbroke.
Mr Mayor, I think we need to put an amendment to the motion.
Please go ahead.
What have we got?
Approve the...
I've just... I was going to suggest that they follow the what is it? The conditions of the Hodgson Board. I've sent it there.
Yes.
Yep, I'm happy with that. I just don't want to increase the water supply zone. I just don't want to do that.
Say that?
I don't want to increase the water supply zone.
We've got to do that, Mr Mayor.
No, we don't have to.
Well, we're not going to be able to give him water.
No, we can. We can actually go outside that to be able to do this.
Have we done it before?
Yeah, we had extended it.
Yeah, extended, but have we provided water where we haven't extended the supply zone?
Oh, not that I. We extended the zone in Wallumbilla to supply the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't.
But the mayor's not moving that. He's not moving to increase the zone.
Well, Councillor Mick, I think it would be more cautious to just say we've decided to give water and then get the officers to come back and see how they're going to do it. Councillor McMullen, what was your amendment you wanted to put in? Do you want to put in about the Hodgson?
Follow the conditions and requirements of the Hodgson's facility. You can put your Marek valve in, you pay your own, for your own installation.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Is the second happy?
No, you can't have open holes, you've got to have tanks, you can't have turkeys' nests and all that.
Yeah.
So is, you're happy with that?
Can we get that to Kelly to put it up in the, would we put that in the resolution?
Yeah, I would.
I didn't send it to Kelly, but.
Yeah.
I think you've called it a specification, haven't you, Councillor McMullen?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what's got to happen, and then there's no guessing.
And at least they can be starting to plan what's going on if it does get supported.
Kel, if I just send it to your email address, can you pick up on it?
She can pick up on anything, Jeff.
Okay, I'll read that out. The one, approve the request for a connection of water by installing a Marek valve to control the supply of water flow.
Mr Mayor.
Just put as per.
We go by these, aren't we?
Just put as per Hodgson.
Approve the request for connection of water.
Hodgson bore offtake specification.
Have you got that email?
Yes.
I'll have a look at that. Through you, Mr Mayor, I was wondering, are you allowing the applicant to install the Marek valve?
No, approving the request for a connection, or well, council. No, but you probably should grab the email. Has it been sent to you?
It's all got to be done at the applicant's cost.
Yeah, definitely.
Has to put a tank in and everything.
Yeah.
Has to be approved
You could-
by council officer.
And we're recouping money each year from him as well.
Yeah, he'll have to pay the,
He's paying for
So we
everything.
get someone to inspect it? Like,
they'll do.
Yeah, the staff will do all of that.
will they good?
So,
That's the only thing.
It's a, Kel, in that letter I sent you, that's a requirement in those conditions.
Yep. So they actually have to tap into this water scheme, so the reticulation scheme. Let me just have a look.
See, council reserves the right to inspect offtake to ensure the continued compliance of any
Yeah.
offtake. So that's, I mean, like, there's,
So look, through the chair, just as part of the background to the report, the officer does raise the fact that they're outside the regional water supply zone and have therefore requested that council extend the boundary of the supply zone to allow them to access the network. And they do need to have an extension to access the network. And then what you're doing is then saying that their access will be restricted
Yeah, that's what
in
I'm,
accordance
yeah.
with the, Hodson
That way you
scheme.
control.
But that in turn will restrict the number of cattle he can hold there, is that correct?
No. Oh, well,
well, he's got a dam
At
too, I
at
think.
How
this
big a
stage, the
block's he
water
got, Berger?
supply is just being
80
used.
acres, yeah, no. I got 134 acres and never had
Yeah.
a problem, yeah.
He won't have too many cattle on there.
No.
No.
No, that's right.
right, so are we happy with that? One, approve the request for the connection of water by allowing the installation of a Marek valve to control the supply of water flow per hour following the conditions and requirements of the Hodson water supply specifications.
Well, you know, the Marek valve's in the conditions.
Well, do you want to take that out, the front part out, do you?
Just as per Hodson Bore offtake specification.
Okay, approve the request for connection of water as per the Hodson water supply specifications. And advise the applicant of the decision.
Well, Mr Mayor, we've got to extend the water zone.
Righto, we'll put it in, but I
You
just...
can't, well, we
You
can't
do
go,
need
we
to
can't go
extend to-
outside the water zone.
No, have to extend to provide access.
Got to extend the water zone to allow.
Is there
that.
water
Got to
zone?
tap into the water.
This picture they got here, this
reticulation, the
map, is not really showing the water zone.
Anyway,
Well-
we'll put it in, I think you just need to do the decision. So just put another line, please, to extend the water zone, regional water supply zone.
It's my understanding that's the blue dot's where he wants it, is it or not?
Yeah, but what I'm getting at before, the ones across the Raba line, they're on council, and the one across there are allowed the water zone already. If
Yeah,
that's
but
the case.
that goes back.
Councillor Ladbrook, are you happy with what's on the screen there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that's the motion. Approve the request for the water connection as per the Hodson water supply specifications to extend the regional water supply
Zone.
zone. 3, advise the applicant of the decision. So I'll speak to it. I think it's very important and it
Yeah,
is,
we got a seconder?
yes, we have, Councillor Ladbrook.
Okay. That's just.
And I think it's very important that we send a message that we find a way to do something rather than find a way not to do something. I don't think that's in the interest of Mangalala, and I think a little bit of, how we can do it rather than we can't do it is needed here. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm actually really sad that I can't support this this report, because I actually really wanted to find a way that that I could be comfortable in being able to support this, but unfortunately council has made the decision to decline the opportunity for me as a councillor to get all the information that I needed to be able to fully make this decision at the table today. I needed to further investigate what risks are associated with this. Councillor McMullen had previous information which he has shared with us, but I haven't had the chance to read that or digest that information to be able to even understand what that information is. So it makes it very hard where, I guess some councillors do have the information, the others don't. So unfortunately, I don't have all the information that I actually need to, and the risks are really high. And I just believe if a councillor is going to go against a officer's recommendation, which they can do, and that is fine, but we need to have all the facts so that we know that we're not putting a community at risk while we're doing that. And so unfortunately, I can't support this today.
Okay, Councillor Burkett, do you want to speak?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I think there's plenty of information. The sad thing saddens me is that the information handed to by the officers is more or less requesting there's no future growth in Mangalaala. Or, when you read into it more, that everyone in the same street, even if they're on water restrictions, can run 5 taps at a time, which they can do. So that 5 taps at one house is 5 taps at 5 houses. So I think it's not the water pressure issue and these guys are going to pay for all the money. It's just no different to a spare block in town having a water supply connected now as this fella connecting water to the town supply. As far as there's also already houses outside the water zone, so there's a precedent's been set in Mangalaala itself. I just think, not allowing anyone to future build in Mangalaala is a bit sad, and I think there's plenty of information. The Hodson thing is a great concept, and I think this will work well. Staff can check it as if they're checking for water restrictions, reading water meters, they can check all that. So I'm happy to support.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak against the motion?
I just want to ask a question. I don't
Please
know
go
what
ahead.
extend the regional water supply zone means. Is that a cost to us? Is that just something that's just on paper? What is it?
Through the chair, it's really a planning process whereby we actually note the zone is bigger, so we adopt a bigger zone. So it's a cadastre.
No,
No.
Under this agreement, the landholder accessing, he has to pay for his own pipe.
So through the chair, you're putting in a zone, and probably the thing to think about is that once that zone's in place, anybody within that zone can also make an application.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion?
I just speak for.
Please go ahead.
I'm just excited for Mangalaala and just the words that Councillor Burkett said. And in a short while, well, hopefully a short while, we'll get another bore in Mangalaala. So it's all good.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill?
Yeah, I'll speak. Through the chair, begrudgingly, I'm going to vote against this, largely for the reasons that Councillor Hancock has just shared. I mean, we've got an officer's report here that recommended we decline it. I don't agree with that. I think there is in merit to see this to go in a more positive direction, but there's going to be implications. I understand that the system that is now part of the recommendation that's in Hodson is working well, but I'd be interested to know what impact that will have on Mangalaala, positive, negative, or neutral. I don't have a background in water, so I'm coming from a place where I need to get as much information as I can from the reports that come to council. It wouldn't have been too much to ask to simply revisit this in a week's time, but obviously council didn't want to do that, and so on that basis, with me not fully appreciating the implications of making this decision today, I can't vote for it.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Yeah, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
McMullen?
yeah, Mr. Mayor, based on the Hodson specifications there, it's about 4,800 gallons a day. It's not very far from the current water zone to this land. I very much doubt if this property or this block of land would use 4,800 gallons per day, even with a house there. But however, some of the water leaks I've seen around the towns, we've wasted more than that in a day. This additional connection will be will have available to them the 4,800 gallons.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak?
I'll
Yeah, please go
sorry,
ahead.
I'll just speak. Well, obviously it's not about pressure, so it's more about volume, I'd say. But obviously that's going to be restricted, so I think that's a good idea. The other thing is the message we're sending. Progressive councils should be progressing towns, not restricting their growth. And I think this goes a long way to sending a really good message to them. So I'll be voting for it.
Okay, and does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. I believe that it's my understanding that all councillors have been briefed on, and we've made decisions on extending the zone in Dulbydilla, and in that report was to do with the Marrick Val, and all councillors in this term of council were briefed on that and have that knowledge, unless they have forgotten. I think this is almost no risk. There's more risk of a break in our pipes in Mangala and causing that, and I do believe that we need to get on with it. I do believe that if there's any issues that the officers bring up, they can bring it back to us in being able to implement it. But I think sending a message that we are a progressive council and that we're about growing our communities in a careful and measured way, as we've done in Dulbydilla and in Hodson, I think that's a common sense way to go. So I'll be supporting this motion. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Item 13.1.
You'll need a statement of reason.
I will give the statement of reason if anyone else wishes to, that I believe that the change in the motion is a different solution than what the officer was putting forward in total. Anything else, councillors? Okay, we'll move on. 13.1, request approval for advertisement sign council land. I've just got a question. We've got licence to be for 3 years with an option of a further 3 years. Seems a long time if we've never had anything like in with cattle and that.
Yep.
Would there be enough flexibility if it's not working out to change that, or?
Yes, Mr Mayor, there could be an option there for either council to call for the licence to be for a shorter term, or just to have some kind of clause in there where council has the right to cancel it if any reasons will come up on the basis of safety or something. I just did want to mention too that in the body of the report, just to point out to councillors that generally when requests to put signage on council land come through, the request comes to us and we bring it to council, and if council approves it, council says this approval is subject to gaining all necessary approvals or something along those lines. In this instance, the applicant has already gone and got development approval. So they've got their development approval from council, but they never got approval to put it on the site. So they've now come, so they've got their development approval and now they're asking for approval to put it on the site.
So is that in Sayard's land, is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Councillor Hancock.
Just got a question. I just note in the report on page 26 is that previously council has approved the placement of advertisement on council land for an annual fee. Are they going to pay an annual fee for this? Is that what's being suggested here? It's just not in.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it hasn't. I don't believe that a fee's been proposed, but if council did call for expressions of interest, generally as part of that expression of interest document, there is a line there where we asked what fee they're proposing to pay to council.
Just because I guess if there's other businesses that are already paying fees to have that on, we just probably would need to keep that equal.
So,
okay.
Councillor McMullen, then O'Neill.
I was just going to say, Mr Mayor, the installation of this sign will make some shade for a handful of cattle. We don't have that. We've often got complaints about no shade out there.
I'll just say,
Councillor O'Neill is next.
2 points to the point that you made before. In the recommendation, point 4, where it's got the signage must not present a risk to livestock, you could add in there, and council reserves the right to terminate agreement if it does. But my question was going to be, should we be in parallel to this setting a fee in our fees and charges that reflects the commercial rate of signage in that immediate precinct? There are businesses that have their own signs that then they lease out. I'd hate to be competing. We can compete, but it needs to be at a level playing field. But how do you do that if we're not setting the fee, implementing a fee into our fees and charges for that signage?
We not have a fee?
Yeah, there's one there for that.
Yeah, but we've got a couple we've approved. I don't know whether that's in the fees and charges or we just
one for the McDonald's sign at Bassett Park.
Yeah.
But this is a big sign. Like it'd have to reflect the other, prices of similar signage out in that area.
Taylors have a big a truck body
Well, that's
thing.
it. They're going to move it around because if you read on page 26, they said they've
must
advised that
be
they
out
may
of-
choose to remove the trailer.
Town
they'll
council
move it
land
around.
out there near the airport, and they're going to put another one out here
That's not Roma Town Council land.
Okay.
where Craig Smith's got all his horses.
Councillor Burkett.
Mr Mayor, just to go on from Councillor Neal's point,
What they're on, what's his name?
if we are setting a and we decided to, like say, 10 people want to put signs up and them big trucks, there's going to be no room for the cattle.
A lot of shade.
A lot of shade, but less room. So
I tell you, those big signs on the highway and that are $70 a week. Sinosaurus and all them commercial signs, they're all $70 a week.
to who they pay that to?
Ever who owns a sign,
On the block of land.
Sinosaurus, and there's some big
Yeah,
companies that
different
do it.
companies own them.
Can I?
A lot of money.
I ask, have we consulted with the manager of the sale yards? Is there any animal health issues having the
Yes, we have
trailer
Mr.
in there?
Mayor, and the manager has no objections, but he was the one who raised that it needs to be done in a way that it won't injure or potentially injure any livestock. And he wants it done in a way that livestock cannot get stuck or tangled in or around the trailer.
Yeah, because it
Page 29.
could cut their back on the underneath or
They'll scratch their back underneath.
give it a gouge on a bit of steel.
The other question is, it's a long time if it's not right. We've got issues or something. 6 years.
Yeah, but if we put that clause in there that council
Reserve the right to
to
terminate
cut
it.
at any time, they
Through-
will toe the line
Just do
or
3
whatever
years.
we need.
Just do 3 years.
Like a flat 3 years.
Yeah, three.
But I still think we need to look at the fees and charges first.
Yeah, we've got to charge something for it.
Lay this on the table to the next meeting.
Well, that way we get, but we'll need to condition that with setting a fee.
I mean, it won't hurt to charge a little bit of money. That's 600,
Is that
668 a year isn't a lot of money, is it?
I'll move we lay this on the table to a future meeting of council so that council can have a look at appropriate fees and charges relevant to the area and other commercial signage in that space.
Councillor Hancock, did
Could
you
I
have a
just say
question?
something
Got a
before?
question, yeah. So just with laying on the table, is doing our fees and charges, do we do it at the same time as we're doing this? Because this is calling for expression of interest, so we could get other people who put in expressions of interest. So do we do that at the same time? Is my question.
I think you've got to have a fee set because that will either attract people putting in
Oh,
an expression
fair
of
enough,
interest
yep.
or deter them.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Number 4 worries me a bit about the signage presenting a risk to livestock. That's,
Well, I've laid it on.
I mean, livestock, rub on anything, you know that. So, I mean, you've only got to get the blame for a beast these days, and $2,000's gone. I'm not sure what the liability is there, but if there's going to be a number of applicants for this, wouldn't you be better off just excising like a strip of land there and putting a fence up, like a fence, another fence just on the other side?
Okay,
then allow-
so
Cattle
You know,
racing,
No, that's what I'm saying. We should be looking into rather than just the fees.
I think, no, I don't agree. I know what you're saying, Councillor Edwards, but we put if the trailers are approved there, they put panels against them.
Yeah.
and that we're creating shade, something we don't
No,
have.
no, that's all right. Yeah, I'm not
yeah.
just that, but I'm.
Just so they can't get under the trailers, that's the
Yeah.
problem. I understand.
All right, well, if you can avoid that, that's.
So, but you may be asking, because we've got a motion that we're going to vote on to lay it on the table, you may ask about, is there any risk with that? Is that what you're asking about, Councillor
Well, I'd like,
Edwards?
well, I would, yes. If we're going to lay it on the table, I'd like that to be investigated as well. Yeah. So, can we amend that or not?
Yeah, no, well, they're all questions about things that are coming back anyway. So that's what you're interested in?
More clarity around the
Yeah,
Safety.
for the cattle getting under the trailer, that's, yeah.
correct.
Okay, we're going to the vote. All those in favour? Laying it on the table.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, moving on to 13.2, Dulbydilla Historical Cemetery and Outback Graves signage. Councillor McMahon.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council receive and note the report. 2, provide a letter in support about the Dulbydilla project to Queensland Rail. 3, advise the Mitchell Work Camp of the potential project.
Just a question, and maybe it might be something. We had a report in to find out if we could contribute to Outback Graves because they did such a great job. Have you had any information about that or with that? It was a report that we look at maybe in some way subscribing to them as a council for the good work they do, voluntary, or to the mover, Councillor McMullen, is that something you'd be willing to put in there to ask at the same time? We've actually got a motion of council. I don't think it's been from a decision that hasn't been dealt with. Do you have any extra info on that, or?
No, I don't have on that, but I could ask Jane about it. I'll ask her what sort of contribution we could make. She seems more keen for us to contribute in ways like gravelling the site and things like that.
Shifting that sign.
That's the only thing she's asked for really is assistance with maintaining the grave. So, but I can certainly ask the question if there's anything she's lacking in her work.
So basically, the Outback Graves are the ones that actually make the plaques, and they do that for free. So once we had that it's been to council and we said investigate. So if you have got contact with actually Outback Graves or whether Jane Wilson's in that, it was just whether we could make a small contribution to it, and it hasn't come back to council. So
okay,
and it's been a few months. So yeah, Councillor McMullen, are you happy to put something in there about follow that up?
Yeah, I suppose follow up on the previous resolution.
Just through the chair, I'm not quite sure that that's exactly what that resolution said.
No.
But you could certainly say investigate in-kind assistance to further support the project.
Okay. Further investigate in-kind
Assistance
to
support the project.
Councillor Burkett?
I'll just have to second it.
Yep, got a seconder. Okay, does the mover wish to speak to it?
Mr Mayor, I just think pretty good project this one, and they asked me for the assistance to shift that sign and make way for the new sign that Queensland Rail, Heritage Rail is putting up, and also, as the director said, they're seeking some assistance, which through the Mitchell Work Camp to put some gravel and that around the camp, around the grave sites.
Yeah. So this one really where this is a briefing really where we'll do the letter. It sounds like there's a pretty good chance we'll get the sign. So they supply that sign, they design it and supply it, Queensland Rail. The work camp, it's envisaged that the work camp will erect it. I would think that at that point we'll need to supply some cement and a couple of other things. Very inexpensive for us at that point, but I will produce another report when it gets to that stage.
Does anyone else wish to speak to it?
I think
Councillor Burkett?
It's a great project. I think all these little towns, any little extra thing that acknowledges the history but also promotes a bit of tourism, a bit of interest. Mangalaala have a pretty good historical feel about it. Like they had a reunion there on the weekend. I think there was, I don't know, 100, the Buzzcar reunion, which is probably quadruple the population of Mangalaala. Like, hope the water supply handled that. Yeah, so I think anything like this will, you know, encourage more visitors to the area.
Yeah, I'd like to speak for the motion to give, just for the room, I was out there for the opening of the Dulbydilla Historic Cemetery, and the volunteers have done, and Jane Wilson's been amazing doing the research. One of the really shocking things, if anyone hasn't been there, please go and have a look. It was very hard times when they put the railway through. Even the chemist died at 50 years of age. Children, just quite horrific what they did to open the country up for the rail line. So I think it's respectful to keep our history and thank all the people involved in doing that. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Yes.
Thank you, 9-0. 14.1, Regional Signage Audit.
Thanks, Shane.
I'd like to move the council note the findings of the regional signage audit as presented. Do we have a seconder?
Got an amendment to that if you're going to move it.
Okay, Councillor Ladbroke seconds. Please go ahead.
I was just wondering what I would have moved, and I thank the staff for the work they did on this report, was to have a second point, which is that a project to upgrade the 22 poor and very poor council signage identified in the report be developed and further considered at an upcoming council meeting.
Well, what I'd be happy to move is to have that, and then that be handed to the local areas to come up with a plan on how to cost effectively upgrade the signs.
Well, that'll just happen as part of that, wouldn't it? Project to upgrade the poor and very poor signage should be developed and considered at upcoming council meeting.
Yeah,
how
but
that happens is up to the staff to pull it together.
But CO, are we allowed to put in there at a local level to do the signs?
Sure.
So I'll put in there at a local level, and they might be doing things at the same time. So, so did you want to do an amendment? If I'm happy to put that in there.
No.
Righto.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think I read this report and it only mentioned signage around the place, and I don't know whether it can be introduced here, but is there any possibility of looking at the signage on the side of the council vehicles as well? Was that part of the regional signage audit?
Plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's a, is this the appropriate time to bring this up, or?
It wasn't part of the original council, Edwards. If you look on page 47, the resolution that I moved is at the bottom of the page there. It doesn't. No. The audit, to answer your question, the audit didn't include council vehicles.
No.
They do.
Okay.
Councillor Edwards, they do need.
What's that?
And some of them do look horrible on the council vehicles.
Well, they do, and they're running around.
They're all just burnt, and you can't even read some of them. You wouldn't know what they are.
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm just wondering if that needs to come back as a separate thing. Yeah. Otherwise, can it be looked at in a at a further further meeting? Just have a report on the vehicles as a separate.
That'd only be stickers, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's correct.
Through the chair, they're just decals. I mean, it's just would just be a fleet expenditure, so it'd just be part of operational budget. If they're old and shabby, yes, we can certainly do a review.
You know what I mean? When you
have
see
a look
vehicle,
at those.
the first thing you look at is that sign, and they do look shabby, and if you fix that sign up, the whole car, it'd lift the whole...
Councillor McMullen?
I was just going to say, Mr Mayor, those vehicles come under the fleet, so as CEO Edwina just said, and she sort of beat me to it, but that's an operational thing. I think it's up to the plant department to be bringing their gear up to scratch, so to speak, yeah.
But
Yeah,
certainly we'll take note of that.
Yeah.
And look, it may well be also a casualty of the fact that we haven't traded our vehicles in as quickly, and the long lead times means that your vehicles are getting old, your signage getting old. They're really only good for a couple of years under, out in exposure, given the fact that we have most of our fleet sitting out exposed.
Councillor Hancock and then Taylor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm just noting in the report that there is signage in this report that we don't own. So we wouldn't be upgrading, we wouldn't be looking at upgrading other people's signage. It would just be council signage. Is that correct?
What's that?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. When the local teams went around, they gathered there was details of some signage that may have been sitting on council facilities or that had been identified, but that wouldn't be replaced. I think probably what stood out to me, there is a certain type of signage, a certain shape of signage that's been put at sporting fields, and it just doesn't seem to have held up to the sun. There's quite a few of those that need replacing.
Okay, well, just on that note, we might just stop. I might declare a conflict if we're going to be doing non-council signs.
Well, I don't think we can.
Well, I didn't quite hear what Councillor Hancock said. Which signs were you referring to?
Oh, there's just some signs in this report that are non-council signs.
Well, shouldn't we shouldn't
then
be
you
paying
want-
for non-council
No, but
signs.
Can I ask what the one of them is? Just
Well, for instance, actually, I think I actually just saw the sign that the mayor might have one with, but there's
Oh, I
Gallants
don't-
Fox Park one, Roma Kidney's sign in
council,
here.
that's all council.
So we paid to put that council sign on.
Well, we own the facility.
Yeah.
But
What about
hang on.
We probably
Better
need to
do a
stop. The
conflict
mayor's
first.
indicated he's got a
Because
conflict.
there's actually a sign in this report that is
Okay, yeah.
that will have a conflict.
Okay, so I'll do a conflict, Cal, please. In regards to 14.1, regional signage audit. Have you got the, there it is. LC 14.1, declaring councillor is myself. Person with the interest, related party, close associate or relationship is myself. The particulars is I'm the president of the Roma and District Junior Soccer Association. Type of conflict would be a prescribed normally, isn't it?
She's on about 4.
If you're going to leave the room, it would be a PCRI, yes.
Prescribed conflict of interest. And I'll leave with the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
You'd have one too, then.
Withdraw your motion.
well,
I'm looking.
Mitchell Showground.
That's right, you
Can't move a motion,
you
you're not in the
moved.
room.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion about 14.1. Do we have to vote on that?
No, you're just withdrawing your moving of it.
Yes.
Moving off the motion, I'm withdrawing.
Oh,
the
no, you actually, once it's, you've got, do you get a seconder?
Yeah.
Yeah, councillor Ladbrook.
Yes.
So are you're just withdrawing you moving it, you're not withdrawing the
Motion.
motion.
The motion's still there to be.
Anyway, I'm
So just, did you get a copy of the signs?
yes, but I was actually considering this as council signs because council didn't buy those signs.
They're just in the report though.
There's photos of them, but I was talking about.
Add something. No matter who pays for the sign, they are a council asset.
Yeah, anyway, so I've declared a conflict and I'm going to be leaving the room. It's up to you
Mr Mayor,
to decide.
I'll have one too then.
I think we're all going to have conflicts here.
I've got 4 if you want to break it down.
Why?
Well, if it's going that, Mitchell RSL Combined Sports Club, Rotary Park, Bringa Heritage Museum, you can throw in, actually there's two of them in town, but there's only one, even though they got the tourism officer at the time got my phone number wrong and still wrong. The Mitchell information, so my plumbing business is on that.
Oh, yeah, that's a big
That one would be.
Righto, who else is declaring?
Can I'll fix this to allow people to have a look at the big printout, right? I'll move that this, no urgency, I'll move that this lays on the table to the next ordinary meeting of council.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, moving on.
Definitely to the next meeting, wouldn't it?
I said next ordinary meeting of council, yeah. I never said next meeting, Councillor McMullen, so if we have a special meeting, it will,
next ordinary.
it'll go to the ordinary meeting, yeah.
Okay, 14.2, request for lease over lot 35 on WV 1682. Do we have a mover? I'd like to move one on expiry of term lease 0/24/01/34, entering a short-term grazing permit for the use of lot 35 on WV 1682, as the reserve is located on a section of road that is proposed to be upgraded to a primary stock route. 2, notify the applicant the land is still required for its gazetted purpose. 3, recover the request once a decision has been made.
That's not correct. Start again, Mr Mayor,
Yeah.
number 3, read it again.
3, reconsider the request once a decision has been made by state government in relation to the Stock Route Management Act. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, please go ahead.
I just have a question, just through you, Mr Mayor, may I entertain you on page 79, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph from the bottom, it just says the lease expires on 14 November 2022, should that be 2023? 2022?
Yeah, it is.
It is 2022,
Yeah.
so it's in 2 months.
Yes.
Yep, sorry, I jumped ahead a year, I'm in 2023, thank you.
Righto, so we have a mover and a seconder. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, moving on. Right, 14.3, minor amendment to the Maranoa planning scheme. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
I'll move that council one decide to amend the Maranoa Planning Scheme 2017, policy SC6.4, cultural heritage and character places. 2, decide to adopt proposed minor amendment to 1 of 2022, number 1 of 2022 for the Maranoa Planning Scheme 2017, as presented in the supporting documents to this report. And 3, give effect to proposed minor amendment number 1 of 2022 on 30th of September 2022, and 4, fulfil the requirements for making a minor amendment for section 20 of the Planning Act 2016 and the Minister's Guidelines and Rules.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I'll speak to it. This is a very good thing. I'd like to thank some of our local heroes that have done the research. I would like to think that this is something that we do in recognition of the history and the local heritage of the area. Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, 15.1, Jackson Bus Stop. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that council investigate options of partnering with the Department of Transport and Main Roads to construct a concrete apron approach at the bus stop in Jackson.
I'd like to second that. And is there any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Please go ahead.
Just like to say that the community do get 2 buses a day, and getting on and off the bus for the elderly and disabled is not easy. So, yeah.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak? I do have noticed that we have been upgrading a lot of bus stops, then I do think that obviously the feedback is that Jackson needs to be done. We've got a pretty good relationship with DTMR, and I'd like to see that something could be done there. Anyone else wish to speak? Does the Mayor wish to sum up? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. 15.2, acknowledgement of service for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Councillor O'Neill.
I move that a report be prepared with costings and suggested location for placement of a plaque and tree to acknowledge the service of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for tabling an upcoming meeting.
Councillor please go ahead. Councillor Edwards, did you say something?
He was seconding it.
No.
Righto.
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Right. With Councillor O'Neill, are you open to having in that motion if there is something else that's even or as well as more appropriate? Because, you know, sometimes trees do die and so forth. Is there, you want to keep to this scope, or would you consider if we find out that other things are appropriate as well as the plaque?
Sorry, a plaque and tree or something else.
Yeah, or something else.
It doesn't. The outcome's still the same. It's about acknowledgement.
Even like the soldier thing, a bottle tree and
Yeah.
you know, it's not cement, slag. Please.
Right. Okay, so you...
So that a report be prepared with costings and suggested locations for placement of a plaque and tree or other options to acknowledge the service of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for a tabling upcoming meeting.
Is this in Roma?
Hey, I am suggesting Roma because that's where the community members that approach me are in Roma, so yes.
Okay, so we'll have a seconder, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Would you like to speak to it, Councillor O'Neill?
Very briefly, Mr Mayor. As I just shared, I have been approached by a couple of community members in relation to how best do we as a community acknowledge the service of our longest serving monarch, and so I offered that I would put a report to council for council to consider. I think it is more than fitting that after 70 years of service to our community, that we do acknowledge the passing of the Queen, and there is a connection of Her Majesty to Roma through her late husband, who represented her, and you talk to the people that were involved in the organising of what was to be the Queen's visit all those years ago. They still fondly recall the process that led to that, and then having Her Majesty represented by her husband here was special as well. So I think given that we have lost the longest serving monarch, it is appropriate for us as a region to acknowledge that, and however that materialises, council can consider in terms of costings, etc. But somewhere that we can pay respect, and it's a lasting reminder of a life well lived and the service that she provided to not only the Commonwealth but down to our community as well.
Would anyone else wish to speak? I will speak.
Yeah,
Well, please go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
I'd just like to say that yes, it's a fitting tribute, and certainly welcome this this motion. And I'd also like to say that there's a couple of photos flying around somewhere that I think Councillor Ladbroke's parents have got a photo there out in the main foyer there at the council where they've met the Prince Philip, and also my father met him as well at the cenotaph. So I think it's fairly fitting that we've got two councillors whose parents have met him, and I wasn't there myself, but it's quite quite nice just looking at those photos. And, but anyway, I think there's a fitting tribute in whatever shape or form it comes in.
I'll speak to the motion. As the community has felt, you know, it's a big shock to lose Queen Elizabeth II, and that's been extremely evident. I too have had people from the community that have asked what we can do, and I don't really have the answer because it's Queen Elizabeth was such an imposing force for good, but I do think council should get a report back about what can we do to mark this time in history. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
I just wonder if at this late stage that I might include in the resolution at the back end for consideration and further discussion at a council briefing, and then tabling at an upcoming council meeting. I just heard in the room that there's individual suggestions which I think should be brought to the table as well, which I think is really important.
Okay, is the seconder happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Righto, that's the motion then. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, moving on to the closed agenda. Don't seem to have mine, have you? Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's hiding under there.
If I'm going down in simple.
Mr Mayor, I've got a conflict. that I'd
Please
like
go
to
ahead.
Before we go in.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, so have I.
Yes, C4. Yes, we've got
Wendy's
three.
first.
Three at
Wendy's
C4.
first,
Okay, is that all right?
Please go ahead.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in C4, Roma Rural Student Hostel Bathroom Upgrades. The declaring councillor is myself, Wendy Taylor. The person of interest is myself. I am a committee member of the Roma Rural Student Hostel, which is in the report. I have prescribed conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, do we have another conflict? Councillor Guthrie.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to declare a conflict with regard to item number C4. The description is the Roma Rural Student Hostel Bathroom Upgrades. The declaring councillor is myself, Councillor Julie Guthrie. The person with the interest is myself. The particulars of the interest is that I'm a committee member of the Roma Rural Student Hostel, which is mentioned in the report. Type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest. Actually, no. Be prescribed because it's a, the type of conflict would be prescribed, and my action will be that I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
I too have a declaration of interest on C4, Roma Rural Student Hostel bathroom upgrades. I'm the declaring councillor. The person with interest is myself. The particulars of the interest is that I'm a committee member of the Roma Rural Student Hostel Committee. The type of conflict is prescribed, and the action I'll be taking is to leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, any other conflicts in the closed? Righto, do we have someone to move into closed?
Oh, hang on. Burko's got one.
What's Councillor Burkett got one for?
Same thing.
Oh, surplus property, is it 103? C5?
Same one.
Oh, C4. Oh, right, okay. Is
Oh,
it in
because he's
relation to the
named in the
contractor?
report, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we could, CEO, I think we could actually exclude that out of the, we could exclude that out of the report, because all it is talking about naming. So if we exclude it from the report, then he doesn't have a conflict. Can we do that? Or?
Page 22, a list of contractors.
So if it wasn't in the report, would he have a because he doesn't do work down here or whatever, so.
Look through the chair.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day,
It's
the
only
report and
requested
he's
quotes.
declaring it.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, but if we change the report, then, because
You
otherwise,
can't really change a report to suit.
He's not mentioned in the report.
No.
No, but it's up to him.
No, it's for me.
but why is it?
But if you look at the reasons why,
Are we allowed to tell anybody who, anything?
Sorry?
Didn't we have that discussion where they had to decide for themselves who were to get involved?
That's right.
But obviously, I didn't hear him say he had a conflict, but obviously he has, it's up there.
And he's a big boy now.
can we just check where he is?
It's not very,
He might have gone to Louis.
it's not very well.
No.
Are we gonna have a quorum if he goes?
3.
Yeah, we'll still have 5.
Yeah.
There's only 3 of us going. Oh, 4. There's 5. Yeah.
4 out of 9. Well,
Councillor Edwards is there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm still here.
We'll still have.
We're up to you, John.
Yeah, I'm a very conflicted person. Item C4, Roma Rule, student hostel bathroom upgrades, declaring council myself. Person with interest myself, particulars, I have a conflict as I do work or have done plumbing work for several contractors listed in this report, and my wife's first cousin is listed as well. One builder is a close associate and was a groomsman at my wedding. Type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest, and the action I'll take was leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. Oh,
I'll move we go into.
it's ready to go again.
I'll move that in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. The council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that the council considers necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed and an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. C1, Charles Ivy Street, Roma Stormwater Management. C2, Safer Communities Portable Security Camera Platform. C3, State Government Surplus Property, 85 Gregory Street, Roma. C4, Roma Rural Student Hostel Bathroom Upgrades. C5, State Government Surplus Property, 103 Alice Street, Mitchell. LC1, Offer to Council to Purchase Residential Property. LC2 is Roma Sayod's multi-purpose facility.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay. Okay, we're starting on confidential. C1, Charles Ivy Street, Roma, Stormwater Management. I'd like to move the council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate and the Mayor to commence discussions with the landowner of the property bearing rate assessment number 140101144 as outlined in the body of the report. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go into the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. Okay, moving on, C2. Safer Communities Portable Security Camera Platform. I'd like to move that 1, acknowledge that there is no current capital budget for 2022-23. 2, endorse option 3 and purchase 10 portable security camera solutions at a capital cost of $150,000 from Internal Reserve GL 19550.9573 to provide immediate safety options for the Maranoa region. We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett.
Sorry, do you need ex-GST, including GST? What's the story there?
Well, I think we'll just go with 150
1,000 ex-GST. Yep.
ex-GST.
Yep.
Righto.
Okay, so I'll speak to the motion. Communities have been calling out for this. I think this is the most important thing that we can do for safer communities. this protects our residents, but also, you know, people have got so much pride in their communities. We need to give them the feeling of safety and also the feeling that that we're really going to jump on top of vandalisation. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I support this as well, and I'm very supportive of the portable security cameras as they will be able to be moved around the Marinara region. Okay,
anybody else? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. C3, State Government Surplus Property, 85 Gregory Street, Roma. Councillor McMullen.
Mayor, I move that council receive and note the officers' report as presented.
We have a seconder, Councillor Ladbroke. Anyone wishes to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0. C4, Roma Rural Student Hostel Bathroom Upgrades. And 4 councillors have left the room. Councillor Hancock.
I move that council transfer 35,000 excluding GST to Roma Rural Student Hostel Incorporated on the following conditions. 1, the funds are used to address the issues at the Roma Rural Student Hostel House Parents Bathroom as per the scope of works prepared by council. 2, the funds are acquitted to council once the works are completed. 3, any surplus funds to be returned to council. 4, only suitably qualified contractors are engaged to complete the works.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Anybody wishes to speak to the motion? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
5-0.
Next page is 26.
Councillor Burkett not there.
Just open the door for Councillor Guthrie.
We'll just adjourn for a second. C5, State Government Surplus Property, 103 Alice Street, Mitchell. I'd like to move that council progress the interest in the property and bring a report back to a next council meeting about how we could instigate a purchase. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. I'll speak to this. If we're serious about solving housing issues, I believe we need to at least investigate a way to be able to do this. It doesn't commit council, but I believe that when we start looking at different pots of money, there will be a way to do this, and we need extra rental in the market with a view that we can sell it if it's not needed. And if we're serious about it, we will be supporting this motion. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion?
Sorry, just a question. Is that instigate or investigate there? About how we could investigate, is it?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to put investigate, council. Yeah, is the seconder happy with that?
Yes, I am.
Righto. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, I voted against this previously and I haven't changed my mind. I actually think this property should go out first to the community to have an opportunity and then council can consider it after that.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? I'll sum up. I don't agree with going out to the community because you can't control this. This is a state government decision. I believe that the only way we can control giving the house to the community is to investigate a way to secure it and then put it out to the public if that's what council wishes to do. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against? Lost 4-5. 4-5, was it?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, lost 4-5. Do we have a motion?
Can we, for a division?
I'll call for a division. And
Voted? I thought it was 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, 5, you're right, sorry.
so do we have a mover for C5? Councillor McMullen?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that council revisit, I know revisit's right, council can revisit these, this residence, the purchase of this residence after
2 months.
I'm going to say after being listed for 4 months for the general
Is this
public.
revisit or review?
Review, well,
Revisit, right?
revisit the residence in, for potential purpose after being listed listed for 4
period
months.
of
With
4
the,
months.
with an A, I suppose, I don't know, being listed for sale to the general public.
Or Councillor McMullen, would the council revisit this matter after 4 months of the property being listed?
That'll do. This council revisit this matter after, that'll do, yeah.
I'm happy to second that.
Yeah.
We have a second to Councillor O'Neill. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, Mr Mayor, I think if, leave it out there for 4 months, and if any locals are interested in buying it, if it hasn't sold by then, well, yeah, definitely approach QR, is it Queensland Rail, to see if we can negotiate a price.
Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? I won't be supporting this because I think it sends a message that we're not serious about solving the housing issue. I'd also like to clarify it's not going out to local community, it's going out to anyone in Australia that wants to buy the house. So I won't be supporting this motion because I believe it is not in the interest of saving the fixing or improving, or one house at a time, the chronic shortage of houses in Mitchell, and that's why I won't be supporting this motion. Does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
I'll speak against.
Okay, please go ahead.
I just think, with this property, anyone can buy it. If we purchased it, we can do what we like with it. But by putting it out in the open market, someone from anywhere can buy it, which will be a shame, really, if a local doesn't buy it. And it doesn't have to go to a local, it can go anywhere.
So does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Just to say, Mr Mayor, that yes, anybody could buy this, but who's to not say that A, they might buy it and rent it, which will be helping with the rental market. B, that they don't buy it and live, so therefore moving to Mitchell, which supports the town. So there's quite positives around that as well. And 3, a local could buy it, and that could also help with the housing crisis. I think that any way that you look at this, it is actually assisting with the housing crisis in the Maranoa, but mainly in Mitchell for this property, because there's a house that has become available that council is still interested in, but wants to first not tie it up and not control, but let the Mitchell community have that first opportunity.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I'm happy to second this because I think this is a middle of the road solution. It will go out to the open market. It'd be wonderful if a local purchased it. It'd be wonderful if someone outside the region purchased it and rented it, and it'd be wonderful if we attracted new residents into our community as well. At the end of the day, we've put a time frame on it when council can reconsider if it doesn't actually sell. So I'm happy to support the resolution.
Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it matters who buys it. And anybody, whoever buys it, it will mean an extra residence to be available in Mitchell, whether it be owner occupied or rented out to somebody that needs rental house. As you know, council has other other opportunities to gain some housing back in the near future. So in most of our towns, so that will give us a lot more houses for us to be looking after then, and I'm more than happy to support that when we get there. But I believe this is the best way to go with this one.
Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against?
Against.
6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, LC1, offer to council to purchase residential property. Do we have a mover? I'd like to move that council, 1, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to proceed with the purchase of part of the land described as Lot 2 on R8656 according to the terms detailed in the draft contract attached to this report. 2, not accept the landowner's request to contract changes and notify the owner that if this is not acceptable, that council have no further interest in the property. 3, allocate the funds from unrestricted cash to be reviewed at the first quarter budget review to affect the purchase from infrastructure reserves. Do we have a seconder?
No.
To affect the purchase, not infrastructure reserves. I'll read 3 again. Allocate from unrestricted cash to be reviewed at the first quarter budget review to affect the purchase. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on, LC2. We might just adjourn for a minute.
I mean, we go into closed.
We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett. All those in favour?
Do we need to put a thing yet?
Yes.
Sorry about it, I just never know who wanders along.
LC2, Roma Sayard's multi-purpose facility. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I would like to move that Council 1 receive the report and supporting documentation by way of follow-up and actioning of Council Resolution OM-1.2.2021-59. 2. Note a briefing on the matter is being coordinated in October 2022. 3. Endorse expenditure of $30,000 for estimated legal costs in relation to the commencement of proceedings to meet the 5th of October 2022 limitation period deadline funded from GL 2271.2094 as per legal advice.
CEO, did you want to add anything?
Look, just through the chair, certainly recognise that the council has read the resolution as it's been presented, is that if you were still had some degree of concerns and wanting to have a briefing next Wednesday, you could make an amendment where you endorse expenditure of 30 or prepare a draft lodgement of proceedings subject to council's decision on the 5th of October. So you could actually, put something in there that allows you to do that. But if you're comfortable and you don't need to do that.
We're not going to get anything out of those people till after December, are we?
No.
So I can't.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Just raising that.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett,
Just have a quick question.
please go ahead.
Just that GL number, Madam CEO, where is that from? Would it be our
Look,
legal?
it's legal advice, it'd be in corporate services. Apologies, I don't have a
Because
label.
it's, yeah,
but it's
just
just a
says as per
legitimate.
legal advice, I was just wondering. Yep, thank you.
Yep, so,
Okay, does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
9-0.
Any further business, councillors?
Did we confirm those minutes?
the confirmation of the minutes.
Oh,
21st September.
Yes.
We better do that.
okay. Do we have a mover of the special meeting of the 21st of September? Councillor
Mayor,
McMullen?
move that the minutes of the special meeting held on the 21st of September 2022 be confirmed.
We have a second, Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to vote. All those in favour?
I'll abstain. I'm abstaining.
Okay, so that's 8-1. And any
Abstaining.
Yeah,
8-1.
That's correct.
But it's recorded as 8-1. But
No, you're right.
yeah, but we'll have it in there as abstaining. And any further business, councillors?
Not at the moment.
Righto, we'll close the meeting at 7:45 PM and thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.